So are you okay for, let's say, an hour and a half? You got that much free? Okay, fantastic. So we'll work to that. And if we go over and you need to go, you can just say, and I can edit that out. If we're a bit under, like I said, it's absolutely fine. We'll go with it.
No worries. I have a delivery that I got set up, but I specifically said it couldn't come 12. So let's see. If that
I'm honest.
works.
Thank you. That's how you know someone's dedicated when they move the deliveries. Hello and welcome back to the Redcast, the show all about exploring the world of entertainment and the many forms it takes. I'm your host Troy, and in this episode of the show I sit down and talk to actress Georgia Van Cuylenburg, who you might know best from Payday 2 and Final Fantasy, all about the different roles of her acting career as well as what she's been up to in the last 12 months during the COVID-19 pandemic, and I've got to say, she's certainly been busier than most people. If you enjoy this episode or you enjoy the show in general and you would be interested to hear these episodes 2 days early, then make sure as always to check my Patreon page at www.patreon.com/RedArcherLive. Donations for as little as £1 will get you 2 days early access to the episodes, so you can listen to them on Saturdays rather than Mondays. But before this episode properly starts, I just want to preface one thing in particular. That was this call was recorded over Discord, and I did ask Georgia to record her side, however, the audio file corrupted. So unlike most episodes of this podcast now, I don't have the audio from the guest's side, so we're having to use everything from my end, and there are a few spots where the call might have cut out on certain words mid-sentence. So if you do hear a bit of spottiness, I can only apologise. There is nothing I can do to fix that. There is also a little bit of static during the recording on Georgia's side. I've done my best to reduce this as much as I can, but it wasn't easy since it's alongside her actually speaking, so please bear in mind I did my best to improve that as well. All I can do is really apologise for the standard of the audio in this episode. I really wanted it to be better, and it is always better in every other episode, but every now and again things do go wrong, and I hope you can all appreciate that. But with all that being said, let's get straight into the episode, and I hope you enjoy it. The main thing that will start us off for our chat will be me asking you how you've been doing, how you've been keeping for the last year since our last little chat.
I've been keeping pretty well. And who wants to be totally sane? Let's be honest. So everything is pretty good. It's been an incredible journey for me. I was like, oh my God, I have a list over here of 100 things I've been wanting to do all my life. Let me start doing some of them. So I was, I've actually met some of my life goals in the last year at the same time as feeling completely terrified and worried about so many of the families and people that I work with who are the most affected. So it's been this like deep emotional, I lost a lot of people close to me, more so than I ever would have imagined. So I'm very grateful for life. I'm really like in great awe of the way that the world works. And yet at the same time, I'm feeling really positive about where I'm at and the things I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly been a crazy 12 months because when we first spoke, it was all just kicking off. I mean, it had only been about a month since the UK went into lockdown and other countries had started being hit by it. So it was all still very fresh at that point. And now we've all had 12 plus months to kind of get used to it. But I think that's the most important thing, just finding ways to keep busy and doing things that maybe you wouldn't have done if you hadn't been in the isolation, the lockdown, and that's why I started this podcast. I've said it to a few other people at this point now. It was something I wanted to do for ages, and I thought, oh, well, I'm at home now, I'm not leaving the house, why not finally give it a go? So, it's just making the most of your time, basically, and just doing what you can. But it's not... Social people like us have struggled a lot. It's maybe something introverts might prefer a little bit. I dread to say that they would enjoy the lockdown, but, they may not be quite as shaken by not being able to go out and be social. But for people like us, it's like, I need to get outside. I need to talk to people. It's just...
Yeah. Oh, well, actually, I'm more of the, I love people. I need my own space. So
yeah,
sort of work for me.
Just somewhere in between. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I was like that for quite a while, but I got to the point where I was kind of like, okay, it would be nice to go outside now. We did have a bit of a reprieve in August. They kind of loosened restrictions, and then they very quickly realised it was a bad idea, and things went back in after about 3 or 4 weeks. So got a slight reprieve there, which was nice. But
are you vaccinated?
Yes, I've had my first vaccination. My second one will be in June, so I'm feeling quite happy about that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm really happy. Thank you. I'm glad. They've opened things up again in the UK, like some shops and things, as of Monday. We're recording this a bit far in advance for people listening, but for the time of recording this now, shops and things have opened about 4 days ago. I really want to go back to the gym because I've started on a diet while I've been in lockdown, which is something I didn't think I'd ever do. So I'm quite proud of myself for even starting
Congratulations.
that. Oh God, thank you. It's been interesting, but I want to go to the gym and push out. But I'm thinking I'm gonna wait a few weeks because I'm thinking, let things bed in and just see if history's going to repeat itself. Because there's no point in forking out for a gym membership if everything's going to go wrong again. So I thought I'll just wait a bit and see how things go and take it from there. But things seem a bit better this time. This time last year we didn't have a vaccination, so I'm hoping that makes a difference. So, we just got to keep crossing our fingers and hoping for the best,
It's the truth.
Just doing what you can, just keeping by and just doing exactly just the best you can to get along. Because it's not been a great year for anybody, but, if as long as you can make the best out of it, that's what matters, isn't it?
That's the motto for life. Although I have a new motto for life.
Oh.
I came up with it for life because I had a surgical procedure on Tuesday morning. And so now my new saying for life is everyone should live like they've just come out of a general anesthetic. It's just, that's the best few hours ever. I'm so happy. And so this is, aren't you? I had a couple of phone calls I had to afterwards and I was just like, tell me more. Everything's great. I've just decided that should be the bumper sticker for life. Live like you've just come out of a general anesthetic.
Just break into a sing-song. Sound like you're going to start singing Grease or something then.
Just be really nice. My text messages that day were the nicest. I was like, yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. Hug, hug, kiss, kiss. And it's like, that's my boss. Sorry, I didn't mean that. Never mind.
They just read the text and just go, is she okay? Is she being held captive or something? What's going on? Is this a cry for help?
Exactly. I think a few people were like, wow, George has been drinking the happy juice. I mean, I'm always very, very happy, but a little bit more happy.
Oh, God. A bit of your daily glass of lemonade, eh?
Exactly. I was drinking my own lemonade.
That doesn't sound weird at all. That's my fault. I shouldn't have said that.
Maybe I make lemonade. You don't know.
I've set the tone. I've set the tone. That's it now. We all know how this is going to go. I've set the tone.
Right? Clearly, we know what lockdown's done to you.
You don't know. You weren't there, George. You didn't see what I saw.
No, nothing.
Oh,
I'll deny it.
just gonna move on.
Yeah.
But no, so because you did start the Daily Glass of Lemonade channel, I think it was not long before the first time we spoke. It was a new idea when you were telling me about it, and you kept it up, I think, for a good bit of the lockdown. How far did you go with it?
Yeah, I did. I kept it up. Oh God, tickling my face here. I kept it up. I pretty much know the marker of it when everything happened here in LA with the social unrest and the civic unrest. I kind of put it on pause. Daily Glass of Lemonade, for those that don't know, it was a series of videos that I would do every few days about positive messages and about taking negative stuff and making it positive and just teaching people a little bit. I'm super obsessed with neuroscience and how the brains work. And so trying to apply that to how we're feeling, which seemed really appropriate considering suddenly putting our lives under a microscope because we were stuck by ourselves with our feelings and our emotions. So the timing was good in that way. But then when a lot of the civic unrest happened and there's a lot of the protests, injustice came to the forefront, my feeling was we don't need another person like me right now putting another video out there about feelings and emotions when there's a group of folks who finally are getting their voice heard. And it's almost condescending or, well, just disrespectful to be like, I have a theory about how the amygdala works this week. Let's talk about that when they could be talking about history and life and what they've gone through and their experience. And so I just sort of it just didn't feel right. And I also wanted to make videos about, because I have such a deep understanding from my work. My dad wasn't allowed into Australia during the White Australia policy. I'm actually not as white as I appear. I could have said things, but in such a volatile, tenuous, cancel culture world, why would I risk that coming out the wrong way or being seen the wrong way? And why me? I'm not the person that is a person of color and lift them up. So I just sort of took a step back. And then through that, started focusing on some other projects that are sort of bigger, long-term chunks, bites, and doing my concerts from the closet, which is also a stretch for me than sitting around. I can talk about your brain all you want, but getting me to sing is a huge fear overcoming for me. So that just felt like a better thing to focus on, and we can get more into the other projects that I'm doing. I'll brought back to Daily Glass of Lemonade when it seems right, but we weren't really getting that many views. Like, I'll listen to the audience on that one, and I'll just do some other stuff. All my stuff doesn't get many views because I talk about happy things. So that's just the way it is.
God, way to make it sound like the world's very depressing.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
If you
you're
go
not wrong.
by what is popular on YouTube,
well,
you will see that people don't like positive, happy things unless it involves a cat or a puppy.
Yeah, they're good, solid exceptions, I would say.
Yeah.
Oh, honestly. But yeah, so for those of you who didn't see our first interview, as I mentioned, we did originally have our first chat at the start of April last year. I think actually yours was the last interview I did on YouTube before I started the podcast. So there's is that something to give you a medal for? Be like, hey, that's a special thing. I don't know. Let's say it is. But let's if you don't mind, give a bit of context, people, and there will be a few key themes here we might retread that you might have been asked about before. But what I'd like to start on next, because obviously I want to talk a little bit about Payday later in the episode. I want to start off first by just covering how you started off in acting, remind people what got you into that area and got you up into, some of your key roles in Payday, Final Fantasy, and so forth.
Yeah. So always being an actress, that was all I ever really wanted to do, was perform and entertain children and spread positive messages through entertainment. Cut to Payday. That's an irony.
You made the right choice in games.
Right? So positive and uplifting for everybody, kids. But that is the whole thing, is that getting into the industry for me was about being somebody that people knew so that I could talk about the messages that I think that it's important for all of us. So even though I joke about Payday, I think that the Payday fans have been more open and interested in the messages than any of them before. So I argue that sometimes they work out the way they're meant to. But was doing all sorts of amateur stuff and a few little professional things when I was in my teen years. Got asked to be the voice of a ballerina and Jakers the pig out of a complete chance because I was doing the live show, and that same company got the contract voiceover, and it was just a moment of like, I'm gonna be Angelina. Like, no way. Like, I didn't even know that was I didn't really know about voiceovers.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is amazing. Yes. So did that, and then I was set to fly over here and be in America soon after. So I flew over. I'd always, since I was 12, planned that I was going to move here. So years later, on the plane I got and turned up knowing one person. I actually just signed with a new agent for the first time since 2011. I've been without representation because I really was a bit despondent about the whole industry, and I'm back in playing full force now. I'll just keep the cricket references going. I'm very much batting up the order now. Get a few hundred on the board, so to speak. So it's a test match.
This is more sport than I've spoken with to anyone for like the last 12 months, so I'm doing really well just even understanding half of this, to be honest.
It's all good. I think it's your accent that makes me want to. I'll be like, he knows cricket. Right?
Fair enough.
So
fair enough.
For those that don't know, this is not something I talk about often, but I come from a very big sporting family. So I actually played cricket at a high level, and I'm a wicket keeper. And my brother was all set to be a professional cricketer before his back gave up. And my dad was a semi-professional. My grandpa wrote for cricket. So like, cricket goes deep in my family, so I apologize for anyone that's like, this is a gaming podcast. I've been able to host a lot on the red carpet at the Oscars 3 times, and that's amazing. I broke my toe the second time, which for anyone that's wondering, don't take your high heels off on the red carpet at the Oscars because someone will put a camera stand right on it. And then you have to put your high heels back on.
Oh no.
and continue to interview people.
Oh
so
no.
but I absolutely love hosting because it gives me a chance to be me and just bring out people's, like, I just love learning from people and being that person that can be like, you're amazing and wonderful, and like I want to hear everything about you, to bring out so that they leave an interview being like, oh, I'm great. But yeah, I got Final Fantasy, and that sort of really changed things a lot for me. Certainly changed a lot when it came out. I learned that reviews are not always positive. Got a number of other video game sort of smaller pieces, Diablo 3, and then got Ensign Reign of Temple and Star Wars, which, as a huge Star Wars fan,
Yeah, that's amazing.
was definitely a moment. Like, easy. I remember exactly where I was when I got that phone call. I was sitting in a booth at a Panera Bread, which is like a coffee shop here. I don't know if you have Panera.
No, we don't have them.
Okay. And I was there, and and Ilko was like, so you staying out of town? You going back to Australia when? And I was like, I've got to go back over Christmas. And he goes, okay, that could be a problem. And he goes, because you're in Star Wars. And I was like, because he knew how much I love
That's the best way of saying it as well. Just, you're in Star Wars. That's just like, okay, I'm not going. I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying here. That's fine.
What do I need to cancel? What's happening?
Yeah.
How many children do I need to sell? Whatever. It's fine. I don't have children. Just to be clear, that sounded wrong. And I would never sell my children if I had them, just to be really clear. That was a joke, everybody.
I think when we it's all good. Don't worry. I don't think we're getting any villainous vibes off you, to be honest.
Good. I do say a lot. I mean, look, there's a whole lot of children behind me, right over there. That's how much I love children. They're not literally on my.
It's okay. It's okay. You can quit while you're ahead. You're okay. We get.
Thank you. So
I still need to play that Star Wars game. I haven't played it yet. I really need to.
I think what I like about it, because it's turn-based, so it depends. Like, if you like fully open world, like constant going, you pause so much in that because you, of course, get your 3 options of what to choose. But which makes it a very hard job as a voiceover actor. And I think I shared this with you last time, where, they would get me to deliver lines, and they would say, we need you to say this line. I'd be like, okay, great. Is this when the character's married to me, or have they just met me? And they'd be like, it could be both.
Yeah. Got to account for all the different options. It's, ooh.
Yeah.
That's got to be a very interesting time to record when you're like saying the same thing, but there's always like a little detail changed every now and again. It's like, oh no, this is completely different. No, same line, just change one word. Oh, okay, fine. But when it's like a lot of choices, you're then spending way more time recording.
And that's something that I always like to share with people that are listening to voiceover podcasts, because there's so many pieces to this you don't consider. And I think people are so harsh with voiceover actors, and there's so many elements. Like with a turn-based game, that's one of the bigger considerations. But the good thing about that was they hadn't put the graphics yet, so we didn't have to speak. So we were a little bit more open to how we could enunciate. But say for Final Fantasy, by the time 2 and 3 came around, they were so much further ahead with their graphics that I could do the performance of my life, right? I could be like, oh my God, it's the best way I've ever delivered that line in my life. And they'd be like, that was great. Could you just shorten it by half a second?
And I'd hate that. Oh God.
And you would literally go back and forward just trying to get it right in the timing. So by the time they're like, oh, that's the one. And you're like, but I sounded horrible. Yep. So I wrote a blog years ago about how voiceover to me is a great analogy of when you meet people on the street and you judge them. Because you don't know what day they're going through. You don't know what's just happened. You don't know what phone call. You don't know so much about someone when you decide who they are.
Yeah.
Because if someone was to say, for example, Troy, I could be like, oh, Troy looking at me, he's looking down. And you'd be like, well, I had to, like, you're actually down there. That's why, and
yeah,
so
if I look at you, I'm going to get blinded by the ring light.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the perfect example. And by the way, for everybody, it's a commitment I've made in my life. I say everything I'm thinking. I'm actually writing a book called That's Too Vulnerable, because of my commitment to be 100% vulnerable. So I may say a few things to Troy that you're like, oh my God, she just said that. You can't say that. I did. So that's just how I live my life. I just think it's really important for that reason that, like, if someone says to me, how are you feeling? You know, well, I was under a general anesthetic hours ago, so I feel great, you know, and then like, why? And I'm like, I had a colonoscopy. Like, there's no, I mean, who doesn't love a poop story? So now
flawless logic, Georgia. Flawless logic.
Sorry, to continue on. Amongst all of this, after Star Wars, after Final Fantasy, and there's a really funny Star Wars story that I could tell you amongst things if you're interested to it, that I just thought of that I don't think I told you last time.
Yeah, go for it.
Did I tell you the one about their fears that I was dying?
I don't think you did, no.
Yeah. It came back to me then when we were getting into the Star Wars. Because this is it's a PC game and it's everything, I go back in once in a while to record.
Yeah.
And well, I don't know more, but I would go in, and I was going through a phase where I was feeling very comfortable. For those of you that don't know, I have alopecia areata. During one of the recording times, I was feeling very out there about, like, at that point I was bald. And I was like, I just want to be me. Like, I don't want to have to make excuses, and just try that out for a while, which I literally doesn't work very well because of things like this. And the last thing I want in the world is pity.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fine, thank you. And so they usually start wanting to buy you groceries and want to buy you meals, and it gets awkward, especially when women talk to you and like, are you a survivor? I'm a survivor. And I have to be like, oh no, I'm good. Sorry about that.
Oh God.
Yeah, it gets really, like, because I don't want to lie. I don't know that I am. So you have to be like, oh no, I just have a hair loss.
Oh God.
Are you still good? Are you okay? Like, so anyway, to that point, I turned up to record, and the whole team, there's like 4 of them in the booth, you know, and we're doing our lines, and everybody's being a bit awkward. And I didn't know them previously, but I could just tell. I was like, everybody's being really nice, and like I'm making jokes, and they're kind of laughing, but like kind of being like, ha ha. And I was like, what? And I was thinking, oh, maybe they just pity me or something, like with the hair thing.
Yeah.
And so, and I said something about alopecia because I was like, I just need to bring it.
I feel like I've got an idea where this is going, and I'm worried.
Yeah. And they were like, oh my God, I'm so glad. We were so worried. We thought like maybe you're dying or something. And we just didn't know how to bring that up. Like, well, what if she dies? How does the character continue? No.
Please tell me that was not one of the first things they said. Please tell me that wasn't.
No, they did. Like, that was my favorite, because I was like, at least bring it forward. Like I said, tummy problems, poop stories. Like, bring it forward.
Maybe not immediately, though, because that's kind of like, oh God, you're dying. Oh, yeah. What about the character? Hang on, the character. What's going on?
Yeah. Okay, to be clear, I think if I'd said, yes, I am dying, they wouldn't have brought it
up.
Oh,
yeah, no, fair.
But once the relief of like, oh, no, she's fine, they could tell me what they were discussing. But it was so, and then everybody was having a good time. Like, oh, you really rock the bald thing. It's totally cool. I'm like, oh, okay, here's the people that I was missing for the first 2 hours of it.
Oh,
Star
God.
Wars. So moving on from Star Wars, and there's many a fun story I could share about Star Wars, or Final Fantasy for that matter. But then soon after that, I started working with Starbreeze Studios and doing a lot of stuff around their Walking Dead game. And there was a couple of other games, and I was very heavily involved with all of that. And the infamous, famous Almir Listo and I were so close that one day, this is also a funny story, and it's because it involves Bo and Almir and I and a number of other devs were in the lunchroom, and Almir had worked out that Vanille, and he's a massive Japanese video game fan. If you guys don't know, he absolutely loves Japanese culture, and so loves Final Fantasy. And he just kind of lost it, and Bo lost it, and everybody was like getting noises, which is the and they got so excited. And over in the corner, and I'll never forget, it was this one guy in the kitchen, and I saw him like sidestep out of the kitchen like he'd been, with his fingers in the cookie jar or something. He was like, just gonna leave this and I'm like, what's happening with Ian over there? Something strange. And then on the Slack, the company Slack later that day, I get a message from him saying, I'm married to you in Star Wars. And I was like, well, you better tell your wife. This is a bit awkward.
Oh, no.
I'm such a funny joke. But anyway, sort of one day, hey, I feel like we should have an Australian heister. You want to do that with us? And I was like, sure, that'd be so fun. And so we started brainstorming, and that's how Sydney came to be. We thought about calling her Adelaide. That would have been funny. He didn't want to go with Melbourne, even though too.
I think Sydney rolls off the tongue better than Melbourne, to be fair, but Adelaide's a cool one. I like that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, Adelaide's a good one.
I would have probably not Western Australia. That's not so catchy.
No, I don't think so.
Or New South Wales or Queensland doesn't quite have the same Tasmania thing.
Not quite.
Yeah, and that adventure started, and for all that Starbreeze has been through and all the challenges, we've ridden the waves together. But I have to say that they were so supportive when I did my every month. Still, we get donations from people that are purchasing the Mega Sydney mask. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's just so cool. And that's all because of Starbreeze. So for what anybody wants to say about them, they made a big difference in my world. They have just done incredible things amongst the challenges that they went through in the last few years.
And that, kids, is how the best character in Payday 2 is added to the game. What?
Thank you.
It's even better that you're speaking to, like, a massive Sydney fan whilst we're having this conversation. Remember when I first announced we were doing our first interview, everyone was like, oh, here we go, he's got her on, there we go, his favourite character, I can't wait for this one. Everyone was like, oh no, here we go.
Because I think there's a lot to Sydney that I knew and we worked on in the character, but when we record, I mean, I've never, ever had recording sessions like we do for Payday. It is mental and insane and so fast because of the different, like they're calling in from Sweden.
Yeah.
They have, a smaller budget than BioWare, or Square Enix does, to just sort of be like, Final Fantasy 1 went over like 8 months, of recording. And with Starbreeze, they're like, we need to get you in and out, in 2 hours, and I'll do over 1,000 lines, more than that. So you sort of just pray that it all comes out, all the stuff that I know about her, and you're like, I hope it comes out here.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, Pete's told me a little bit about the recording sessions. I think they were improved after him, but he had like 4-hour recording sessions where he'd just scream for hours on end, and then he'd get told the last 2 hours just weren't as energetic, so have to do those again. It's just like, I couldn't imagine, like, just even like, it's one thing like you were saying about doing all the different voice acting where you're having to account for all the different player choices. That's a whole other demon. But then having to do all your lines and also scream to the point where you're going to tear your throat out, and then for such a prolonged period of time, it's just, I can't even, it's just not a fun time. I can imagine the stress on your throat must be very, very bad.
That's one thing I'm grateful for. I have a classically trained voice, as I'm a singer. Sorry, I just hit my microphone. Because I'm a singer, I have a classically trained voice, because there's something about Payday where if you do it in the right way, you shouldn't be, because we're badass heisters. So you should actually be a little bit more contained and therefore supporting your voice. But, every day is different, and I just saw it as therapy. I would like.
It probably is quite cathartic. You walk in, she's a really annoying call. My dad's really annoying me. He's really getting on my case. She's just shouting the microphone as you walk out, and you're like, everything's perfect again.
Exactly.
Happy.
No, it was totally.
Yeah. One thing I would like you to remind me, because I'm not completely sure how the announcement worked. Were you at a Payday Con when they announced Sydney was being revealed? Because it was
not
done.
Payday Con.
Yeah, go on. How did it work? Because I can't quite remember the details, because I wish I was there, but sadly I wasn't.
Payday Con, I think it was either later that year or the year we did it in December or November at PAX Australia. And I organized that Payday Con, and that was so fun. One of the funnest nights, just ridiculous fun. So I'm happy to talk about that. But the actual announcement happened at DreamHack in Dallas, Austin. I'd flown out to Dallas in chains. Eric and Damien.
Yeah.
We had a competition going on through the whole convention, And then we had a special like meet and greet, and that was the first time Sydney came out. And I remember I was wearing like black mini skirt and white shirt and the suspenders and the big knee-high black boots. I was like, I'm ready to do this. I was so excited.
Oh wow, yeah. Because I was thinking, I remember hearing, I couldn't remember when I'd heard it or how, but I remember hearing that you were there at some kind of announcement of the character and there was going to be an Australian heister, but I never went to any of the conventions. I can't remember what I said to you, but obviously when they were doing them, it was like 2015, 2016. So I was like 15, 16 years old. It was too young to start flying out to different countries for conventions, and now I'm actually old enough to do it. They don't do them anymore, so I'm hoping they fix that at some point because they sounded like such good fun. But yeah, just even on being on the outside hearing the stuff, it was so interesting when they were revealing this stuff. So to actually have been there would have been amazing. So yeah, what was it like at PAX Australia then when, Sydney became a bit more common knowledge?
That was so much fun. It was at a venue just by the river where everything was happening. And we took over the venue for the night. We had payday giveaways and all that sort of stuff. Once again, Damien and Eric, we kind of all roll together, the three of us, because we're friends behind as well. So it's just nice to see them.
Yeah.
I made a reason. And we become friends with Ian now as well.
Oh, Ian's a gent. He's brilliant.
He's wonderful. I actually cast his daughter in my TV show. Ava is an absolute legend. She's so good. So now we're really connected. So now I'm like, next time Ian's coming for sure.
Oh, wow. I can't wait to hear about this in a bit. That's going to be, because I was going to ask you about that program in a bit anyway. So that's even more interesting. Yeah. Oh my God.
Well, that's the fun of it. Like even in the last segment we taped, if you look closely, you can see Ian sitting hiding behind the couch in the background. Ian's a legend. I've just
he's
him
brilliant
for years. He's one of those people that you just sort of instantly be like, oh, hi family. Anyway, flew them out. And I think we had like 150 people there, 200, which was pretty good in that venue.
Yeah.
And we did signings and hired a really well-known muralist, Adnate, to paint a Dallas live painting while we were doing it. And so cool. And I will never see the quality of dance floor action that I saw at Payday Con. My brother, I hired him to be the photographer because he's a professional photographer. And he comes from the sports world. He comes from he's never played video games or anything. And at one point, he came over to me, like he's taking photos of everybody. And he's like, I have never met a bunch of more passionate people in my entire life.
That's saying a lot coming from someone who does sports photography. Like he like how passionate sports fans could be.
Oh no, you don't. The dancing was, because both Damien and Eric are hardly shy.
Was that the one they had the little dance off? Because there is a video on YouTube. I can't remember which Payday Con that was from.
Yeah, so that's that one. Everyone's just dancing around them. Delicious food, lots of giveaways, lots of dancing. It was, an absolute ball.
Oh, God. You're really making me wish I was there now. Oh.
Sorry.
Oh, no worries. They need to do another one. I remember they said the next one they were going to do was in Europe, and then it never happened. So.
Yeah, that was meant to be. I remember it well. That was meant to be 2017. And I was going to run it and be there. And then they had to pull out of that, which enabled me to go to India, Lebanon, and film for another huge part of my life that I can't imagine my life without it now. But that only happened because I'd had this 3 weeks blocked out to do GamesCon and do Payday Con.
Yeah. Well, there's a question then. You might not be able to answer this. I don't know whether you can or not since you were organising it. Was there ever any names thrown about of places in Europe to have held it before it got cancelled?
Yes. What were we talking about? It was definitely going to be a Scandinavian country.
Okay.
I could be pulling that out of my...
I was only going to say, because if London had come into conversation, and I was like, if you were going to have it on my home turf and it got cancelled, I would have been so much more upset. So I can live with that. Maybe
I should leave it there, because part of me is thinking, did we talk about England?
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's why I wasn't sure when I asked the question. I was like, maybe not, but... just hopefully, they've got Payday 3, we can get to that in a bit, but... Hopefully, provided that has the response we're all hoping for and they're hoping for, then, hopefully they can put some life back on the cards. It would be really good to see.
Well, I think that's what we're all because I was doing these events for Starbreeze, I got to know so many of the people from all the different gaming companies and all the different companies that are part of that. Like there's a whole world that people don't realize. People that work for the gaming companies to put on all these events, that take them to Gamescom, that takes them to Comic-Con, that take them to E3.
Yeah.
And I got to know all of them. And this year, 2020, the death of them, like it's just been horrible because their life is about public gatherings. And so it's been really tough for them and everyone. And I'd sort of got out of that world before, so I feel grateful that the choice to get out, as opposed to being forced out. Many of my friends were. So I think everybody's very like, what does this mean now? What does post 2020, like hopefully post pandemic? I think that's something we're all not even sure if we can say.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be a thing because. So I was going to say earlier, when we met last year, we were like, I'm sure this will just be a couple of months or something. I'd had a board meeting with a guy for my organization who was working at the UN at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying, this will go for at least a year, probably more. And we had a board meeting again on Monday. And one of my other board members were like, Joey, last year you said this will go on for at least a year. What did you know? And he goes...
He's just sat back in his chair like this, like, oh, I know everything. I know all things. Yeah. I am all seeing, all knowing.
So I don't want to get my hopes up that, you know, like E3 this year or anything. But I just like you said, I mean, they're to any of these conventions. I mean, the PAXs are like PAX East is so much fun. Like I want you to, I mean, that's an easy one for you to get to because it's on the East Coast. Like I want you to be able to experience that because as I call it, so this may come across as condescending and I do mean it as condescending. I promise to any of my gamers out there, please all know I love you more than I could love anything in the world. At the beginning of every day of PAX, I fall into the happiest place in the world. I just put on my video. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I video it. Sometimes I just take in the magic. Because as you sit there in the hall before the doors have opened, the doors open. Gamers come running in to get to the line of the front of the thing, but they're not really used to running. So they sort of run. They sort of look like they're scared that they're running. And everybody's like trying not, because you're not meant to run. So like they'll say, don't run, don't run, don't. And everybody's like trying to walk really fast, trying to get there for it. And so people are going around and it's just, I just always go back to an imitation that Billy Connolly did. Billy Connolly is my favorite comedian. And Billy used to do a fantastic impression of what it was like to leave the dock every night at 5:00 when bell rang and everyone left and you just had to go with the crowd because if you tried not to, you'd get trampled. And everybody's just like, go move forward. And it's like that. And it's just, I just sit there being like, running at the gamers.
Oh,
so,
God.
And everybody's just happy to be there to talk about the things that matter to us and them. And so I really hope it goes back to some form of that for everyone.
Well, I hope maybe you should come to one of the UK ones if you can, rather than me going over to America. I mean, come on. I mean, they've just now announced that they're going to be doing conventions in Birmingham and London in October and November. They've just put them back on. Really? So I'm hoping that goes ahead, you know, but...
Well, the way that happens, by the way, if it's me appearing, that's from fans. So if you are for it, she will come.
Who do I have to bribe?
Yes.
No,
I think it's like if you tweet at them lots, if you get lots of people, it's tended done that way.
I should try and get in contact with Starbreeze and Overkill and just ask them if that's a possibility at all, because I've got the, you know, I can tap on their shoulder as a partner because I've got a little bit of interaction and be like, hey, you know, are you thinking of maybe going to a Comic-Con in the UK? Because you know you should. You should go. It'd be good. It would be nice because I probably got into them right when the pandemic started. I went to one like a couple months before it all went wrong. I was like, you know what? I've been missing out on going to these. I'm going to start going to loads of them. And then they all got cancelled.
Oh, timing.
Yeah, it was not.
Yeah, they're the best. It's exhausting. I should tell you all. It's all fun and games for you guys. You get there a.m. in the morning and you fix. I've been planning it for months before, and I have to get there at 8 a.m. and I leave at 7, and like it is the most exhausting experience because you're on all the time, whereas you guys get to be like, oh, I'm gonna go to this and go grab a lunch. You're on the whole time, and then to the hotel at night, and I run 4 companies, so I'm like, okay, work time. But it's worth it. Every second of it is worth it.
Yeah, it's a great place. I hope we can all get back to them soon. I really, really am, but we just gotta see how other people behave, and we'll leave it at that, shall we?
Exactly.
Oh,
Wear
I don't
your
know.
masks, people.
The next thing I want to talk to you about is something else you've been keeping up with. So we've talked a bit in the past about some of the other works you've done, with Laughter Heals Gaming, with Arts Bridging the Gap, and things like that. There are a couple of things you've been working on that I want to tackle one by one. One being that you started a podcast that'll be releasing soon, and also about this TV show you mentioned. So which one would you like to tackle first, the podcast or the TV show?
Let's go with the podcast.
Let's go with the podcast.
Because you mentioned it first. I am so excited about this. And it feels weird because I've been working on this podcast since, like, I think at least November last year.
Yeah. And
it's still not out, which just feels like that's a sign of how big we're trying to make it. There's been so much thought about this. Like, this is the Laugh Factory, which is, for those of you who don't know, it's the world famous Laugh Factory, as we call it. Here in Hollywood, it is one of the 3 big comedy clubs. It is an institution in America. There's a Laugh Factory. The original is like right up there. I can see it outside my window. And it's right on Sunset Boulevard. There's one in San Diego, Reno, Long Beach, Vegas, Chicago. So it's all across America. And it's infamously known for the Michael Richards set that went sour, but it's also the first, like, Richard Price, he used to perform there all the time. Like, it's a huge club. And when I was a comedian, it was kind of like one day Jamie Masada from the Laugh Factory is going to know who I am and like ask me to perform. And I performed there a couple of times, but he never was there to watch me. He's sort of known as one of the godfathers of comedy. And over summer, after me like stepping away from all of this stuff, you sort of starting to see a trend that like I stepped away from a lot of this stuff, just really feeling lost and confused about a lot of things, especially with my hair and all of that sort of stuff. In June, I was asked to paint a mural. Jamie wanted a mural there. He sort of pretended he remembered me, which is fine. So we became very close. So we started talking about ways to spreading laughter and happiness through the way they communicate. And then he said, you just love people so much, which I do. He was like, you just love everybody. And you just love these like people that do these nerdy things. And I was like, I'm a nerd. I nerd out about neuroscience and space dust and like Star Wars gaming. And so we started playing with, well, what is a nerd podcast? We call it Nerd World. Factory Nerd World is the name of the podcast. And it's something we're very much branding, Laugh Factory Nerd World. So it's comedy and nerds together. But it's not a like, let's get together and talk about the Marvel movies or Star Wars or anything like that. Will come up invariably because of the people that I talk to. But it was actually, let's take people that are really quite successful now, whether it's they're a famous comedian, famous actor. We also had episodes where I've had a biomedical visualization specialist, the CEO of a virtual reality company, an LAPD detective who used science and data in the Afghanistan war.
Well, you're showing me up now.
Yeah, it's sort of cool to have non-comedians, but I've also interviewed comedians that were nerds. And the idea is they were nerds as kids. So they were teased, they were bullied, they had a tough time. They didn't understand why other people didn't like what they like. Everyone has a different story, just this sort of stuff, and telling their story and exploring and laughing with them about the things that they did that might have been nerdy then. But we want to celebrate people who the kids at school would have said, that guy's never, like literally the CEO of the virtual reality company was like a teacher, you'll never graduate college, you're dumb, never amount to anything. He worked on Star Wars. He worked, like he did, I don't actually if he worked for Star Wars, but he was the company. And so he had, he has done graphics on Spider-Man and Happy Feet that both won Oscars. And he did visual effects on both of those. And this is the kid that the teacher said you'll never amount to anything because he was dyslexic.
Wow.
So these are the stories we're trying to laughing about it and having fun, but we're really wanting to pull out it so that anybody who is listening, who is playing lots of video games and wondering why people don't see their worth. And I talk with Morris, the CEO of the virtual reality company. He's like, are you kidding me? QAs are like so important to my work. If you know any good ones, we're just sort of saying everything who you are and what you do now, regardless of how nerdy someone might think you are, is bloody brilliant. Because I've always believed that the nerds will inherit the earth. And I didn't ever know that it wasn't cool to want to know or be fascinated by things. And so just trying to put that story forward. So that's world, Laugh Factory Nerd World. And all things going well, it's coming out May 4th.
May 4th. Okay.
So, and we'll release a different episode every week. And yeah, so I encourage everybody. We just started our social account. I think on Instagram it's at LF Nerd World. And maybe the same for Twitter, but definitely follow it. I think this is going to be special. I really do. We have really high hopes for interviewing some very well-known people and letting them tell their story so that all of us out there who felt different as kids can feel less different.
Oh, I love it. That's a great closing tagline, that one. That's fantastic. Where will it be available? Will it just be Spotify or will it be other platforms as well?
I think it will be on all platforms where you can listen to podcasts. So like Apple, Spotify, I think. I will update you all on that. I am actually, ironically, interviewing one of the comedians next week who is a total nerdburger. I was like, are you a nerd, Tom? And he started like pulling out all these pictures of him in Star Trek clothes to work out in.
Oh my God.
And like Star Trek set up at home. And then a picture of him telling a joke about Superman. And I was like, okay, so I guess so. But he's the one that manages all of the podcast setups for the Laugh Factory. So I'll know more after I interview him next week.
Oh, that'll be brilliant. That'll be brilliant.
Yeah.
And if you ever do, if you ever do any virtual guests, you know where I am. Okay, you know.
Yeah, I told you. I told you from the beginning.
Oh no, honestly, it sounds really good, and it's so cool to see that you put in that much effort and you spent so much time working on it. You've really got this vision for it. It's fantastic. You know, it really is, and I'm looking forward to listening to it.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that, because it was one of those things like Jamie, like that's the irony. Jamie and I are so close now, like crazy close, hysterical. And he really wanted this to be something big because he was a nerd. He was dyslexic. He still is. He's very severely dyslexic, moved over here when he was 14 and was teased so much for being him. From Israel, and life is different, and so he really connects with this. And so he literally was like, I just want you to keep practicing and practicing until we're ready to go. I don't want to go before, like, we want to make this really big. There's a lot of possibility with his connections and the world of the Laugh Factory. We want the nerds to get the best. That's
the brilliant. Yeah, it does sound really good, and I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, so basically anyone who's listening should be following this podcast and yours, and that's it. No others. That's it now.
Yeah, that's it. That's all you need.
Just divide your attention. Done.
Yeah. You can listen to my brothers, I guess. That's a pretty good one too.
All right, if you want to slide it in. Don't take too much of the limelight off us, though, okay? We need it, okay? You and I, we crave it, right?
No, it's true. My brother gets all sorts of attention, so let's just focus on us.
Oh God. So that is the podcast. Now let's ask a little bit about the TV show, because I saw this being teased. I think you retweeted it, and it was kind of like, oh, what's this? And now you've mentioned that Ian Russell's daughter's been cast. I'm like, tell us more. So what is the TV show? Tell us everything you know about it.
I'm working on another documentary right now, and I'm doing all sorts of stuff. But this is the thing that lights me up, because if I was to say to you, Troy, what is your dream job? What would that be?
I have no idea. I don't think I could answer you simply. I think if I could push the YouTube and streaming stuff to a full-time career, I'd probably say that, to be honest.
Yeah, okay, so seriously, anything's possible. Someone says, like, gives you a magic wand and says, you get to have your dream career. That would be your YouTube streaming.
Let's go with that, yeah.
Okay. So when I asked myself in June last year, when I did I took myself away for a week to literally to the desert. You need to focus back on what it is you're here to do in this world. Like I was happy, but I knew there was something missing. And amongst continuing to do animation voices and continuing to act and continue, like do all the stuff that I love to do.
Yeah.
The thing that I knew if I had this job, and that was hosting a children's TV show that made kids feel safe, made them feel valuable, made them feel important, made them feel like their feelings mattered, their thoughts mattered, their opinions mattered, but also have fun and be silly, because I think we all grow up too fast. So we're looking at like 14-year-olds. I heard a story once about Tom. Tom Hanks is one of my idols. And people that I've revered and looked up to all my life. So getting to meet him was a thing, a very good thing. And when he made my favorite movie of all time is a movie called That Thing You Do, which I recommend to everybody. It's so fun. At the end of every day of shooting that movie, they had a dance party. And when I had an assistant here, we would have a dance party as well. And I already in that when we are shooting the show live, 5 o'clock dance party, like everyone get together, talk about how happy we are with what we did and talk about our feelings about it all, and then just dance. So I started thinking about and imagining what that show would look like and how that would be. And cut to now, we in the can have a proof of concept because we couldn't do it in person. So we did a Zoom proof of concept, which made it possible. That's what's so magical. Like if I had to do it in person, what cost, it would have just been a really hard thing to create, much harder than doing over Zoom.
Yeah.
But we created a TV show, Thoughts and Feels, and it has 10 to 14-year-old kids on it. We have me as the host because I've worked with tens of thousands of children doing this work. So something a lot of people don't know, they know I work with kids, but I actually do, like I'm publishing a book called The Empathy Curriculum because I have spent hours and hours, like hundreds of thousands probably at this point, hours doing this work with children in under-resourced communities all over LA, all over the world. So bringing that together and being there for the kids to explore and talk about. So we have different segments. Some are fun, like we created Home Tank where they had to go and get a household item and sell it to us like something else. We had a puppy come on and one of the boys talked about adopting this kid and the challenges that they'd gone through. We have a boy from Uganda that talks a little bit about him being from Uganda. We talk about our dreams. That picture thing behind me is the Wall of Dreams that when we have, and when we go to the series and we sell this show, which is now what we're trying to do and going to do, we got our rejection this week, which I feel is a great first step. Like you get your first rejection out of the way, but the idea being that they're in the studio, we're going to have the rack of worries where people can hang up their worries when they come on the show. But then we also have the Wall of Dreams where every week we put a new dream for one of our kids up. And when it goes on the wall, it comes true. So, and we have our co-hosts. So one of the co-hosts, and for the pilot proof of concept, I just had those kids. So I had Nathan, Eva, Anais, Autumn, and we will have different schools come and be the live audience. And we'll have like 3 to 5 of those kids us with our co-hosts who will sometimes be in segments and like interview a kid at their school who's doing great service. And it's just about creating a place that is, as I've described it, Fred Rogers. If you've ever seen Mr. Rogers meets Oprah meets I Love Lucy. So it's silly, it's loving, and it's like Oprah made every woman feel like her feelings mattered. And that's what we want to do for young people. So we've got it in the can and we're now starting to pitch. I've got a secret hope. I don't know if you know Ryan Seacrest, but I've got a belief that if we get it to him, it might, because he supports children's hospitals all across America with his studios that he has in there where they interview kids and interview people. And so I just have a feeling that we need to meet, maybe get married and make the show together.
Seemed reasonable until maybe the last bit. I don't know.
Hey, I mean, strange have happened.
Oh, no, it's fair. No, I think what's most impressive is having both of these things and working on them so much across the last 12 months. Like, there's one thing you said about keeping yourself busy, but this is like some really cool stuff you've been doing.
Oh, I haven't even talked to you about Human by Any Other Name. Each series has 3 episodes, and we picture locked on the first episode of the first series yesterday. So it's a virtual reality document that I filmed most of in 2017, and we're bringing back out. It's about exploring an element of people that we've chosen to see as less than human. I went and spent time with orphans and I actually became the first to do the last rites ceremony for a orphaned woman. I'd seen her body. She was dying the day before, and collected her body the next day, and only did this last rites Hindu ceremony where I have to hold her body. And I could smell her on me for the next few weeks. And I body and prayed, did all of the ceremony. And so we filmed all of that, and filmed in insane asylums, and filmed all that sort of stuff in India. We went to Lebanon, and I met refugees, and I was with a boy who had to escape Syria and has a condition where his skin gets eaten by the sun. And so I'm with him after that, and he looks very different. He looks very otherworldly. Seb is one of the most beautiful souls I've ever met in my entire life, and I got the pleasure of being with him, but we filmed all of this, and we filmed these kind of interactions. So we're editing that right now and working on that as well. And then we will film here in Los Angeles with my friends experiencing homelessness to really talk about how just putting them in a home and looking at them that need to be housed is not looking at their human condition and what they've been through. So that's another thing I'm working on. I'm getting my singing career back because I'm writing an album right now, which I think we came up with the name. The album is going to be called Back Upside Down. But yeah, I'm working on that, and just getting my acting career back. So yes, there's
You're
a
doing
lot going
so
on.
much in the last 12 months. Oh my God, Georgia.
Yeah.
I thought I was just like, I started a podcast, I just keep you busy. You're like, I've got a podcast, a TV show, a documentary, an album. I could barely keep up. That's amazing. Oh my God.
One day, the good thing is I'm going to sell these and actually money. I want money just so everybody knows is donated to all my causes, just to be clear.
Aww.
Because of course we're still dealing with the challenges of my organization in Africa. I mean, through the pandemic, it's just been horrific. And here with Arts Bridging the Gap, there's just so many challenges we have. So yes, it's to say that things are busy is a good joke.
Yeah.
It's like, it's completely like I'm trying to do things outside of it, publish my I wrote last year and write another book that I want to write. It's just, yeah.
It's amazing.
That's why I hold on to my hooks a lot.
Oh my God. I mean, you pretty much answered the main bit of the closing question, because the main thing was going to be, what's next for you, but you've just, oh my God, it's like a shopping list. It's brilliant.
Let's get these done.
Oh my God. What I need you now, you're going to have to keep me posting all the dates for things, because I'd have to even write them down and stuff. Just keep me posted with all the releases and stuff, because I want to know, because this, oh my God. I was like, I'll just keep an eye out for a podcast, and that comes out, and I was like, okay, TV show as well. Okay, this, that. Honestly, I don't know anyone else who's been as busy doing so many different things in the last 12 months as you. That's fantastic.
It's been extremely rewarding. I'm grateful to have a couple of people on different sides of it, like my editors and my social media intern and my composer. There's been people that have been helpful to move these things forward with me, because we all need teams. Yeah. Nobody can do anything by themselves.
Oh, it's brilliant. It is brilliant. And yeah, you should be proud of yourself. You really should be. That is fantastic. Honestly, genuinely. Goodness. So that's, so a podcast, a TV show, a documentary, the album, and is it 2 books? Was it?
Yeah. One book that's ready to publish that we're putting, and I'm just literally to write this week. I just started it.
Wow.
But that's the one I'm the most excited about. Right now, working title, That's Too Vulnerable. A Person's Guide to Radical Vulnerability. That's what I'm going with.
Okay. All right. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I want you to keep me posting all the dates and things for these, because I want to be keeping an eye out for them. That's fantastic. I'll make sure I follow the podcast social media for one thing, but anything else, just send me a message. Let me know. I want to be up to date with these things.
Well, thank you. There's one big question you haven't asked me, though.
There is. Yes, I was going to say, there is one last part of the upcoming what's next for you thing that we haven't covered. And that is, we've spoken about it a little bit before, obviously, when we did our last interview. But, I want to, just refresh everyone's memory so they know where you stand and everything. But as I think are you still working with Starbreeze now on some of the things, like, or...
No, I mean, not in a negative way. Just that when they had to do structuring, obviously, I was not part of organization for that time, and then there's no events. Almir and Mikkel, before he left, talk about what to do for the fans, and then I think things still, their best intentions were there, but I think they needed to focus on internal. And I wish I had updates for you on Payday 3. Like, I wish there was something I could tell you. It's kind of one of those things where I'll never forget. Not that this helps me anymore now, but when Bo came down the stairwell at the Starbreeze house, I don't know if I told you this, but I was just standing in the kitchen and he goes, "Is that my favorite Payday character?" And at the time, I think I was thinking, well, this is good. This is job security.
Yeah.
Little did I know. I wish I knew, because I'd love to know myself. But they're doing Starbreeze isn't known for keeping it locked down.
Yeah.
And they are doing a good job of keeping it locked down.
They really are. It's talk about drip feeding. I mean, have you seen the picture they put out for Payday 3 a couple of weeks ago? Yeah, you've seen that. So, but yeah,
the first thing I'd seen as well.
Yeah, they know how to properly drip feed the information, and there's nothing getting out. They've done really well, but it is quite tense and just kind of waiting for more information to find out. But I think, they're making progress, and I think they've obviously got their plans. I've said to a few people before, and I've said in some of the episodes now, I really want to see them do a really short trailer. Even a little teaser thing where it's even 10 seconds long, show a logo, say something's coming out and put it out there. Because I don't know how you feel, but my personal belief is that the people who are most aware and most excited for the game right now, the people who are already in the community, who already play Payday 2 or have played it, whatever, and are well aware and excited for the next game. I don't personally believe, and I could be completely wrong, I've got no way of proving this, but I don't personally believe that the wider gaming community is quite as up to date with things, and I think putting something like that out would really help drum a bit more attention up. But I have faith that they've got their plan. I know that they've got things worked out, and we have still got probably about 2 years till the game comes out. So there's time for these things, but I mean, as we already know, you are very keen to return should the call come, because I know you did that lovely message for us for the Christmas stream. I remember you said about Payday 3, yeah. And I was just it'd be great. It would be really good to see Sydney come back. I mean, there's so many characters people want to see return. It's going to be interesting to see how they manage it. I mean, the debates that arose purely out of the picture. Who is that in the picture? Who are these silhouettes? What's going on? The theorizing that's come out of that has been such good fun. So I'm hoping that
you're right. I was looking at being can I see a mohawk?
It depends on how many characters they start with. They might go back to 4 again. They might start with a few more. I mean, it's not improbable for games these days. It's pre-order and get this character or whatever. They could throw people in like that. It depends on how they want to run things. It really does. But I know there are a lot of people who want to see a lot of different characters back, and I myself will be quite sad if Sydney doesn't come back in some capacity, and I know a lot of other people will be. But
I have to say that I'm always, because I keep track of all this stuff on Twitter, and I'm always amazed the variety of one's favorite character, but I also Jacket is so clearly people's favorite.
Yeah, Jacket's a very common one.
Yeah. I'm always surprised Jacket makes it in there. I'm gosh.
Yeah, I did a video recently putting all of them into a tier list, so ranking the different heisters, and I knew, I was right, I'm not as big on Jacket, but I know how much of a fan adoration he has, so I'm going to be very careful where I put him. So I put him quite near the top, because I was okay, I know where this is going. I was right, I'll put him in A. I won't quite put him in S, but I'll put him in A, because I knew then people would be okay, that's fair. But people just found something else to get annoyed about afterwards, so it was
Of course. Well, the good news is people will always find something to get.
Oh yeah, because people's opinions over the heisters are so varied. Everyone loves different characters and all sorts. It's funny. One of the people I've got who supports me on Patreon, he loves Wolf, and he was really upset that I put him in B tier. And one of the rewards for patrons is that if you donate a certain amount, I put a pinned message from you in the comment section of the video. He's right, I'm changing the pinned message. I want it to say the tier list was trash. You have bad taste in characters. Blah blah blah. I'm I'm sorry. So it's literally still there now. Something the tier list was really bad. You didn't give Wolf enough love, and I was just sat there oh, Sorry. But,
So, well, you can let him know that Sydney gives Wolf plenty of love.
oh, there you go. So you're making up for the love I didn't show.
Yeah. We never really expanded that time, but that's something that there was potential for along the way was a love interest between Sydney and Wolf. So.
Really?
Oh yeah, I didn't tell you that.
Now, I don't know whether you did, because this might be deja vu, but I mean, the last 12 months feels like 12 years. So, but I did a couple of streams for The Sims 4, and I put a bunch of Payday characters in, and it ended up that Sydney and Wolf got married in that. So that is one hell of a weird coincidence. If you haven't already told me that, I'm sat here thinking, what?
That's very clever. No, when we were doing the original backstory, Sydney had a crush on Wolf.
Well, I'll be.
Which is very funny, and I mean this with all the due respect in the world, but I've had to work with Derek, and we are not at all like that would never happen.
Be careful, because the next thing I'll say is, well, who would you rather pick?
Well, okay, so that's a really tough one.
Oh, you're actually going to answer? I'm just going to lean back and enjoy this one then. Go for it.
Okay, so here's where it's tricky. The person that plays them or the character?
Can I say both now? You've given me the options. I mean...
Truth be known, if I could choose anyone from the Payday world, it would be John Cleese. Like, I would go with the butler. Like, that's just...
Yeah, fair enough. John Cleese is a legend.
I mean, the fact that I'm in something... Do you know how long that got me serious room with my family?
John Cleese got a lot of fan reaction when he came out. Everyone was like, oh my god, John Cleese is in this? Which I was like that when I saw him. I was like, I know that voice. And then it said John Cleese. I was like, how the hell did you get John Cleese in on this? How did you pull that off?
I believe, pretty sure that's exactly what I said to Almir. Yeah. And I remember where I was at the time. I was in, we were in San Diego. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like I just was always like, yeah, in life I get hired and then John Cleese gets hired. That's just... So I would definitely just want to hang out with John Cleese. I don't know about look or touch it, but definitely hang out. But the personality, this gets repeated to the boys. Eric, Damien, and Ian and I have a great friendship, but each one of them is very and married. So what I'm saying here is of just like who would be great to hang out with, right?
Okay, that's fair. Because I was going to say, like, when you gave me the option, I was like, this is scandalous if you're actually going to answer this. I did not expect this.
No. This is in the world of just who would be great to be around. So I choose all three of them, but for three different reasons. So Eric and I share love for sports and swimming. And we've always been super motivated and really, like, we talk about deeper things around that sort of stuff. Damien is super funny and pensive and always got a fun story that I just have always lived that about him. He's
Damien
such a gentleman.
And,
he's an absolute sweet guy. So there's that element. And I just have so many fun stories about like the English Australian sports connection, that same take the piss humor that once we got on Zoom to eat, like I remember Eva was like, are you done? Can I talk to her now? Like that's kind of where we were at. But like I remember saying, I was like, I feel like I talk with you forever. So I would be very happy being stuck on an island with any of them, basically. Let's go that way.
Yeah, that's the better
and hearing all about their wives and their families and loving that about them. So I don't, but if I had to choose anyone to be married to, I'd probably marry John Cleese just because
it's John Cleese.
I mean, I'd be like, so we can get married, but you have to bring me breakfast with the silly walks or hit me over the face with a herring.
If you're not moving into Faulty Towers, it's not worth it.
Oh, exactly. Just seeing him run up, just the way he would run up, he bound up those stairs to fix a problem, or like going behind the desk. I loved. You put basil in the ratatouille. I loved it so much.
Oh, I need to see more of it. It wasn't one of the ones I watched as a younger person. I mean, there was some I watched I probably shouldn't have watched at the age I was, but I was more like the young ones and Bottom and ones like those. They were like the ones that, like, Rick Mail was just an icon. I adore that man. He was amazing. But yeah, Faulty Towers I've only ever seen bits of. I've seen some pretty good bits from it, but I need to actually properly watch some episodes of it because I haven't seen nearly as much of it as I could or potentially should have done.
So funny. There's just so many things that this one won't mean much to you until you watch it. But whenever I see O'Reilly, I can't O'Reilly. I say Orally because Basil, the Spanish or Portuguese, gosh, I don't even know where he was from. Oh, he's from Barcelona, of course, because that's a big thing that he's from Barcelona. He can't say O'Reilly, so he goes Orally men, and he goes O'Reilly, Orally, and so yeah, there's so many great moments.
Oh, I need to watch more of it then. I really need to, yeah. There's just some shows I should have watched more of, and perhaps some I've seen too much of too young. Bottom, I don't think I actually, Bottom in particular, like, I mean, for people who have never seen Bottom, it's like a 90s comedy where it's basically two guys living in a flat who are both virgins and are both very desperate to change that. And it goes, it's that kind of show. And I think I probably, like, I don't think I understood it completely when I first watched it, and I've watched it back since and gone, wow, I think I was missing something, and just gone.
That's like watching anything. Like you go back and watch the Simpsons episodes that you kid or any of that, and you're like, oh. And that's actually one of the guys I interviewed for my podcast, which turned out to be like, we didn't talk about it too much, but he's been an artist for Family Guy for like 10 years.
Wow.
And was on Rugrats and Beavis and Butthead, that sort of stuff, and started by being a graffiti artist and was in jail and literally was like called a nerd because he wouldn't kill people. And now he's worked on Family Guy. Like he's such a legend. So.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's brilliant. But those are actually all the questions that I've got for you, Georgia. So to wrap this up, it's well, not my favorite part, but it's always the funniest part. This is the bit I call the sellout section. So any and all platforms, you can reiterate things you've already said as well for podcasts, etc. Any and all social medias, platforms, whatever you want to share. Now's the time. The mic is yours. Okay. Go for it.
To follow me, I am at Georgia Van Cuylenburg on both Twitter and Instagram. My organization is at Arts Bridge Gap. If you want to look at Arts Bridging the Gap, I'm on Facebook as well. My personal is maxed out, but you can be on the fan page, and I post there regularly anyway. Nerd World, the Laugh Factory Nerd World is LF Nerd World on both Twitter and Instagram, and we will TikTok, I believe. I've got to learn how to do that. I've got to do the dancing thing that everybody.
I considered doing that, but I was like, no, I haven't got the bravery for that.
I think I probably, but I need to find a funding to do it. So that, and yeah, that's, I think those are my company. Go to I Am Spartacus Entertainment on Instagram. We now have a page as well, and Human by Any Other Name has a page as well. So you could just search these things if you feel like it. Believe me, we would love the follows. They're small accounts. But yeah, hopefully get better at this stuff on my own account, so you'll get the links. So at Georgia Van Cuylenburg is the way to go.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you very much for coming on, Georgia. It has been an absolute blast getting to talk to you again and getting to explore some of this stuff, because I mean, when I wrote the topics, like, I had an idea of some of the things you've been doing, but it's just like the amount of things you've been getting on with is fantastic. It really, really is. And it's been so interesting to get to know a bit more about it.
Thank you. Well, I encourage anybody that's listening, that came from a realization for me that if we've learned anything in 2020, it's that life isn't promised to us. And I just can't deal with the thought of leaving here without seeing the change in the children that I believed was possible through things I do. And so I don't have a choice. I just have to do it. And I encourage you all to just don't worry. Like, don't worry what people think, because they're too busy thinking about themselves. They really don't care. And I mean that with the most love in the world. People don't actually really care that much. So do it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. Well said. Well, yeah. So thank you very much for coming on, George. It's been an absolute blast, and I'm really glad that we had the chance to have this talk.
Thank you. You too. Have a really great rest of your evening.
Yeah, you too.
Okay. Bye, love.